So do you know of any other philosophy, religion, or scientific theory that explains all this the same way the Bible does, or?
Oh, there are people that don't take the Bible quite literally, and they think that physical processes are symbolized by the different days, but they don't accept that that the Genesis story is literally true. Then there are those who say the Genesis story is literally true, including that the days were always 24 hours.
And thus earthly days, even though the earth wasn't, and the sun,
wasn't made. And therefore they say that the whole universe is less than 10,000 years old, and that all
or 14,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is, but it's in thousands of years, not billions of years, and that they say there's a worldwide conspiracy to suppress the truth and say that the universe is very old. Well, they say literally, but it's the Bible plus the phrase 24 hours that never occurs in the Bible. So,
Okay.
The Bible plus. I found out you can defend the Bible, but only the Bible. If you take the Bible plus anything, you're going to get all fouled up.
That's interesting. Wow.
Well, I have these ideas. They're on a website. I have them. This is the first 3 days of the Earth. It's a booklet I have available for $10 plus $2 to ship it to a U.S. address. And this has the pictures of the first 3 days. This is a picture of the first light, as photographed by a NASA satellite.
I wasn't expecting it to be blue and pink.
Well, the colors are due to the higher and lower temperatures in different parts. The fluctuations are, actually it's a picture of the light separating from the darkness. The brighter regions are where there are more rays collided. They made more material that had more gravity. So they are sucking the other material out of the darker, denser regions, or darker, more rarefied regions. And so the light separates from the darkness by its own gravity. And this is the stars in a galaxy very far away. It should be blue-white, but because of the stretching, it's red. That is the second morning. This is the first morning, that's the second morning. Here is a star exploding, the end of the second morning, and the third evening. As it
Makes like rings.
Yeah, because the magnetic field formed shells as it went out, and they're seen from a distance.
Oh, so it kind of goes up in a magnetic field way, right?
Yeah, so it made these rings. And that was, that's a real photograph. That star exploded in 1054 and was observed by Chinese. Let me see, I'm getting the story wrong. That one exploded about 500,000 years ago, but it was observed in 1987. The light got to here in 1987.
So we do have photographs of stars exploding, like that one.
Right, this was made by the Hubble telescope. And then these are clouds of dust in a galaxy. They're about a light year long, and a yellow star is shooting through and pulling a trail of dust out of one of the arms. Very hard to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can get this picture on NASA.
I think I've seen that one.
They call it pillars of creation. They're the ones that use the word creation, not me. And it's the trail of dust is about the diameter of our solar system. So that's could be the third morning for some other system similar to ours.
Wow.
So these are the first 3 days of the Earth. Then I have a DVD of a conference I gave. This is the 3 modern discoveries and a mystery. 3 modern discoveries are those of Einstein and Hubble and the Penzias and Wilson who saw the first light. But the mystery is, how could Moses have written about them thousands of years before it happened? Before the telescopes existed, or before the
For rockets or
synchrotimes
astronomy
or whatever, to make all this available. Well, it's no mystery to people who believe the Bible, because the Bible says that God, of course, knew how it was being done, and then he told his friend Moses how he created the universe, and Moses wrote it down in the first page of the Bible. And so
Genesis chapter 1.
Genesis chapter 1. So that's no mystery to people who believe the Bible. But to atheists who don't believe God exists, then of course he didn't tell his friend Moses. So how did it get written down? I've asked that question in more than
How could it be possible for a man to know before having the tools to know?
Right, we know that the account is thousands of years old. It's certainly long before the 20th century when those discoveries were made. And it's all consistent with the story, and it doesn't have anything that's out of place. It doesn't have anything that's obviously wrong. Only if you can misinterpret, of course, you can make everything wrong. But as long as you give it a consistent interpretation, everything in there is right. And over the years since I discovered how to do this, since '94, new discoveries have come, and they're consistent with this also. So people can only discover stuff that confirms the Bible. So how is that possible?
That is interesting.
To an atheist, he would just have to say, well, Moses was lucky, or he's a good guesser. I certainly wish I were as good a guesser as he is, if that was what it was.
Yeah. I've had, it might be off topic, but I've had Muslims tell me things that are supposedly in the Quran, or that Muhammad said, that they try to prove through astronomy, like that the moon is cut in half because there's a big canyon or something going down the middle, and so it must be cut in half because that's what it says. And I don't know, it's just odd. I've heard all kinds of strange things like that, but this seems like the most scientific based thing I've heard that had to do with space and religion at the same time.
Well, actually, I read the whole Quran because I was interested to find out just what it did say about creation and so forth. Now, you have to remember that Muhammad himself says that he is the unlettered prophet. He did not know how to read and write. And therefore, it's clear that he had heard things from the Jews, which he called the people of the book, and that the people of the book teach this and that. But since it was not written down, it was just remembered, he got certain things that are obviously derived from the Bible, but they're not in the correct order. And particularly the creation story, he makes it that the first 4 days were just cloudy, and then God made the things on the earth, and on the seventh day he made the heavens and the comets. The Bible says that God at the beginning made the heavens and the earth.
I don't remember reading about comets in the Bible.
In the Quran.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In the Quran, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Quranic story is...
So he doesn't rest on the seventh day of the Quran?
No, and it's just the opposite. Allah creates, but he doesn't rest on the seventh day. But Allah's creation story does not jibe with what we have discovered from science, unfortunately. It's clearly derived from the biblical story, but it has suffered a number of alterations.
Okay. That's interesting. I can't think of, the Jewish one's obviously the same, because Genesis was part of the Torah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Judeo-Christian. What actually I have been doing is mostly basing myself almost entirely on Old Testament passages, and therefore it ought to be just as acceptable to Jewish believers as to Christian believers.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. I never expected to to be that profound. Wow, okay. Has this changed anything in your daily life as well? Or?
Well, yeah, the story of this is something you might ask about my passion. Now, theoretically, scientists, don't have passions,
Yeah, they don't have feelings either, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
How did they end up married?
Yeah, right, yeah, this is all quite mythical. But, yes, I feel very passionate that people would know the truth, and that the real obscurantists, the ones that are trying to obfuscate, are the scientists that crank out books, popular books, attacking the Bible and saying that, no, it's all evolution, it's all chance, random chance that happened. The universe didn't even really begin. We can trace it back to where there just wasn't any time. Time became imaginary at a certain point. All this stuff which cannot be proved from science. It's not good science, but they use it as a basis for attacking the Bible.
Well, a lot of those are, they don't work in hard science, they work in things that are sort of around science that they call sciences. Is that more or less the case?
Some of them, of course, the biological sciences are not as precise as physics and chemistry, because you can't, they're dealing with phenomena that are so complex that they can't quantify it or measure it exactly. In the sense that...
And each biological being, even in the same species, is a little different.
That's right. However, biology can become, and is becoming, a precise science when it comes to analyzing the human genome and the genome of other animals and so forth. And when they do that, new sequences for evolution are emerging that contradict the old supposed sequence. The old one was that life began in the sea, then it became fish and other, first of all, invertebrate creatures.
And before that, little microscopic plankton type
amoebas,
things and whatever.
stuff like that. It all began that way. Then it became vertebrate. Then the fish developed the ability to crawl out on the land. In other words, they became amphibians.
And got used to it and decided to stay there. And
Right.
yeah,
And
I remember
amphibians
watching.
became reptiles.
Watched cartoons as a kid like that. It was kind of funny.
And the reptiles became, sprouted long limbs and became birds, and they also generated the mammals, and then finally we appeared. Well, now it turns out that if you analyze the human genome, in some of our characteristics, we have characteristics that are like chimpanzees, but in others we are more like rats, and in others we're more like fungi. So therefore, if you analyze the genome, a different sequence would appear than what was the consensus before they knew the structure of the human genome and of other genomes of other creatures. So if they were wrong the first time, why, they still don't know enough about the genome to deliver all the cures for the genetic diseases that they promised around the year 2000. It's now 2012, we don't have all these cures that they expected, and they're still struggling to learn that.
Yeah.
So it's really too early to say, well, this proves evolution. It doesn't prove evolution at all.